Paving the Way podcast. Welcome to 5 Minute Mondays with your host, Medusa. Come listen to some fascinating stories, affirmations, wisdom, and even a few interviews of people that have paved the way and are paving the way in their journey of success. Listen to their timeline of adversities from traumas to triumph, and also listen to some guidance of life and even a few workshops of living your best life, digging deep and understanding the science of happiness, learning how to bounce back, the art of being present, 7 reasons to be mindful, the power of gratitude, and so much more. Paving the Way podcast with your host, Medusa.
Hey everybody, welcome to 5 Minute Mondays Paving the Way podcast with your host, me, Medusa. Thank you. Thank you everybody for showing up, hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, and even leaving your comments. So much appreciated. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, why don't you do so? Click. And then when you do, you will get notified whenever the new podcast drops. So, what a crazy year so far. I don't know about you guys, but new shifts, new things, new moons. I'm telling you, a lot happens in a full moon. And I noticed like the other day with this moon, it was like for 2 days or 3, it was so bright. It was like the sun. I was sitting there taking pictures in the middle of the night going, my God, it is bright. And then during speaking to my husband, he noticed like, Deb, there was a crazy day. All these people were doing this and this and this. And then it just led me back to thinking like when I was raising wolves and wolf hybrids that they would act really indifferent and crazy. And it was so beautiful though, watching them in the backfield, the 5 acres on a cold night and the full moon, and they'd throw back their head. It's just like that. And you could see the breath, and it was so remarkable. But then I also had little toy poodles in the house, and when there was a full moon, one would go into seizures. It was horrible. And then I remember speaking to the veterinarian, and they said, he goes, all I can say is there's the craziest nights are the nights and the next days of a full moon because so many dogs come in with seizures. So how powerful is that moon? Right? Yes. So that leads me to this week about simplifying your life. So this is the 3rd lesson about simplifying your life, and it's about a year long. And there's going to be other podcasts in between these lessons, so it'll go a little bit longer. But I will tell everybody, if you haven't started yet, this is the beginning of the 3rd week. If you missed the first 2, go back and listen to them. But I will start putting out when I do download the podcast on all the podcast platforms, that I'll put number 3 so you know, and so on and so forth. So I will say, guys, grab your journals, make some notes. It's going to be an amazing journey, learning all these different things. I did one a couple years ago, another whole life, not simplifying. It was just like getting control of your life. And I never got so many great reviews and people talking, and it was so amazing. Great questions. So if you have any comments, you guys can go to my YouTube, because it downloads there, and ask all the questions that you want. I peek in there once a week and try to answer back, and it's just amazing. Or you can go on the Instagram 5 Minute Mondays. That's always fun. I'm trying to keep that up. And yes, so here we go, guys. This here is called No Rush. I don't know about you, but I've been feeling really, really rushed lately, and I just got to backpedal. I mean, we've had a hell of a 2.5 something years that have just been effed up, and I just want to just go over a few things on this week, because this is really important. through my life and journey, I've been able to do a few things and, work my ass off in my entertainment business. But, I gave me the ability to have 1 or 2 or 3 houses at one time. And it was a pain in the ass. And now just downsizing as you get older, you start to get rid of shit and you downsize and you just what's important. When you're young and vibrant, have fun, guys. Do it. Do whatever you got to do. But just know, I know when I go, I can't take all this with me. So we think about who's going to like this, who's going to like that, who's going to like any of the same shit that I liked, maybe a few things here and there, maybe a favorite mug or some jewelry, and you just pass it down and it ends up getting lost through the years. And I mean, I don't have, I shouldn't say that. I have lots of shit. So anyway, we're downsizing. But to wrap it all up and talk about the no rush in this lesson is so freaking amazing because my home in Florida, I had this plant, this tree. It's called Tree of Life. If y'all don't know what a Tree of Life is, I think y'all got to check it out, right? Tree of Life is amazing. And everything that it means and what it can do. And people believe in it so much that they have the Tree of Life necklaces. I have one. And so I highly recommend go checking out the Tree of Life, okay? Anyway, so I had this plant, the Tree of Life. It was a gift. It was given to me. And it wouldn't grow. No matter what I did. Change the pot, new soil, sun, talking to the damn thing. Just hey, what's up? Go sit by it, have some tea. Man, this thing wouldn't grow. It stunted. And then it lost all its leaves. I'm like, well, damn. What am I doing? Right? And I'm like, come on, hurry up. Let's go. I wanted this thing to grow. And not a thing. Not until this year. I noticed all of a sudden it got a new little branch. It got all these little leaves. I'm like, well, holy shit. I got so mad at it. I stopped talking to it. Right? And so some things can't be rushed. Remember that. Through this whole lesson, this whole episode of this podcast, some things cannot be rushed as much as we would like it to have the end result right there in front of us. It's just better to let it go, right? So there's a saying that pertains to the planting cycle of a new garden. And let me tell you, I've had an organic garden for over 15 years, and this is true. The first year, the plants sleep. The second year, they creep. The third year, they leap. It's almost like having an asparagus plant. It takes so damn long to actually grow sufficient asparaguses, right? You're like, it just takes too long. But yeah, over time, hell yeah. It takes time. Some things just can't be rushed. So I like to think of those cycles like these, in various degrees of time. It pertains to us humans too, as they relate to becoming more ourselves, more of ourselves, more of who we are meant to be, right? So I find that freaking amazing. Some things just are not to be rushed. Stop pushing me, dude. Right? Okay, so when I quit my career as an entertainer 40 years ago, right? So pro wrestling, I retired in 2001. Monster trucks, I retired in 2020. I mean, I had no idea the next big chapter in my professional life would take 20 more years, from 2001 wrestling to 2020. What the hell? Right? There was nothing cluing me in I mean, there was nothing cluing me in that I would go on a deep dive into a whole new field of like study and personal clearing and teaching and writing to fully live and embody the work I came here to do now. Like now I'm on my third. You know? You have almost 20 years of pro wrestling and only 20 years of monster trucks. But in the interim of things, like I've been doing all this other stuff. Like I've always been writing. Like when I lived in Japan in 1988 for 3 years, I was writing poems and music. And then when I came back to the States, like starting in 93, 94, I started, like, even before that, I was like, I'm going to write a book someday. And I've been writing a book my whole damn life. So, just some things can't be rushed. I'm so glad I never did come out with my book yet. I'm getting to that. Okay? So, and another thing too, like here now with podcasting and my life coaching and all of my little extra things that I just put myself into, all of my learning, all of my schooling, all of my diplomas and certifications, all of that has been an intermittent schooling to where I'm at now and why I'm here. It wasn't supposed to be rushed. It's all going to make sense. Just hear me out, guys. All right, so my whole adrenaline life, like I could understand, but like writing, right? Publishing books, multiple books, we're going to get to that. I mean, seriously, like really, me? But yeah. I mean, I was a slow, like, reader in person. I would skip every class when it came to public speaking. I mean, I spent my summers always working, hustling, making money, wondering, like, what was the next big thing that I could do as an entrepreneur. I was thinking this way as a child. Like, yes, you could say that most of my professional career life has been one of sleeping and creeping before I could finally begin leaping. Remember? That's what I said about like the garden, the life, the things that how you plant and wait and they're supposed to grow. That's like the whole garden thing, right? It pertains to humans too. And so the running joke between my husband and I is that it has taken me 40 years to become an overnight success. I don't know. To me it is anyway. And still, knowing all of that, knowing how long it would take to find and realize my true purpose, I'm grateful for all of it. Even when it didn't look like much. Even on paper. And it took decades to connect the dots and often made me know just didn't make any practical sense from a financial standpoint. But all of it mattered. When I say none of it made any sense financially, I'm talking about the last 40 years. Guys, I didn't make jack. Like, didn't make jack. For 40 years, I was in debt my whole life, like robbing Peter to pay Paul, because I loved what I did. But that's not how women were perceived or how they were treated or how they were paid. It was horrible. And what kept me going? What was that? Was I that tree of life? Like I was just there and dwindling and all of a sudden, poof, I got an extra branch and I started to grow? Like what was that? It just baffles me to this day. Every slow, like obscure, messy, exasperating step I took informed like my journey And thankfully, despite the many bumps, no pun intended,